What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mark coming at you from the Ungrownups. Today we're doing something a little different. We're not going to be talking about a figure. We're not going to be reviewing a figure. We're not unboxing a figure. We're just going to be chit-chatting a little bit, maybe about 10 minutes or so, hopefully to keep it pretty short. And just want to share some thoughts on some things that's been going on recently, and also show you guys a quick peek at my collection, which I've never done before, and everybody seems to kind of do that. Everybody seems to have one of those videos, and I don't seem to have one. So this seemed like a good time to kind of do one. Really, the purpose of this video was a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or so. A fellow YouTuber, fellow 1/6 collector, fellow member of the Ultimate Collectors channel, Yvonne Seb, posted a video. It was a pretty personal video, and it was about him dealing with his loss and addiction to collecting, and just general, things that have been going on in his life last couple of years. And basically, he was just sort of announcing him taking a break. And I could certainly identify with some of the problems he'd been having. I think battling addiction to collecting is just like any other addiction, and I think we've all fallen prey to it at some point or the other. Some of us can keep it in check, maybe better than others, so really what happened was Seb's video got me thinking about my own collecting and about me as a collector, and how I sort of keep my my collecting in check. And so that started me thinking about, how basically I have a set of rules that I kind of collect by. And I thought, his video was extremely helpful. I thought maybe I could add to that conversation and sort of put my, my rules out there for collecting, and see if that can sort of further the conversation and maybe help some people out there too. Some of my rules may apply to you, some of them may not, and that's cool. And so what I would love to see is, I would love, to see this conversation to continue to grow and change, sort of organically. And I'd love it if some of you guys out there put out some video responses and shared with us, like your ideas on collecting, your rules for collecting, or your guidelines or morals, or whatever guides you're collecting in your collection. I'd love to see that happen. And if nothing else, maybe just drop those same thoughts in a comment below if you don't want to do a video. So before we move on to my rules, I just want to say to Seb, bro, you seem like you were in a really good place at the end of that video. You seemed really happy towards the end, especially when your friend was showing up with the pizza. So I wish the best to you and to Eric, and I hope you nothing but continued success. And we don't know each other well enough to call ourselves friends, but we've spoken a couple times in comments. But I like to think if we did know each other well enough that we definitely would be friends. So maybe that'll happen one day. So like I said, nothing but the best to you, Seb. So continued success. And so let's just go right into my rules. Like I said, towards the end, we'll do a real quick peek at my collection and show you what I got going on. But first and foremost, I realized that I really had like 5 rules that I kind of live by. And like I said, some may apply to you, some may not. So take from them what you will. My first rule, number 1, very first and most important rule, the one that is the unbreakable rule, is I never buy a figure that I can't afford. So I don't put figures on credit cards. I don't put my family in debt over figures. I am married. I do have a son, 2-year-old son. I have another baby on the way here in the next month or so. And so, I have to sort of be that financial leader in my house. So, or at least a financial partner. So, my family comes first, bills comes first, and then, collecting comes somewhere, usually last. So, that's my first hard and fast number 1 rule, is I never buy a figure I can't afford. So I don't put stuff on credit cards. I don't put, the family in debt, like I said. Basically, if I don't have the money to pay for it right then and there, then I don't get it. If I want it, then I have to save up for it. And if it's a situation where the figure could sell out and I have to get it quickly, then I need to sell stuff pretty quickly to get that money. So that's pretty much how it goes. That's probably the most important rule, because finances, and that is like that's the first, quickest, and easiest way to get yourself in a lot of hot water with your spouse or your partner. If you share your life with somebody, is to mess up the finances. So number 1 rule. Number 2, kind of along those same lines, but instead of money, we're going to talk about space. Is I never buy a figure I can't display. Nothing irritates my wife more than me buying a figure and not displaying it. She's like, you didn't even put that up. So yeah, I basically the way I keep my collection in check is, and you'll see this in a minute, is I have a pretty huge cabinet that I bought from IKEA. It's a bookcase. I keep my stuff in there, and if it doesn't fit, then I don't buy it. That's pretty much it. The desk area of my office, this desk is sort of recessed into the wall, and I have a couple shelves in here, and I'll show those off too. And there's a couple things in here, but basically, if it doesn't fit in the cabinet, then I don't buy it. It's a really good way to keep your collection kind of small and compact, especially again if you're married or you have a partner, you share your space with somebody. Then you definitely don't want it to get out of control. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was in college, when I lived on my own, even living in an apartment, single, I had a whole room dedicated to figures and comics and games and movies and whatnot. But when you start sharing your life with somebody and you start sharing your space, your living space, then you got to keep that stuff in check. So I don't have like tons of boxes of figures out in the garage or in a storage unit or in another closet or anything. If I can't display it, I don't buy it, and I got to make room for it. So I'm lucky the cabinet can still hold a little bit more. So that sort of leads us to rule number 3. It's a really good segue into rule number 3, is that you want to be respectful of any shared spaces that you have. We have an apartment. I share my life and my space with my wife and my son and my new little baby soon to be, and you can't take over the house. You can't just have stuff everywhere, especially with a little kid around. You definitely can't. But you just want to be respectful of anybody's space that you share your life with. You just want to be respectful of their environment as well. Not everybody in your life is going to care as much about figures as you do and as I do. So that's kind of like my third rule, is I just don't let anything sort of spill out into other areas of the house. And that's pretty much rule number 3 is held in check by rule number 2. Fourth rule, kind of along those same lines, is recycle, recycle, recycle. Recycle your figures. You have to absolutely recycle your figures. I'm a big proponent of this, and I've heard other collectors are too. Recycling your figures is the best thing you can do to help keep your collection small and compact and concise, and also kind of focused. And it's a great source of income. If I didn't recycle my figures out of my cabinet and get rid of them and sell them on eBay or Craigslist or whatever, then like I would have to like take stuff that I do want and that I don't want to get rid of, and I'd have to sell that. So it's a really good way of sort of having you basically have income sitting right there on your shelf. It's like right there. You don't have to go out and make this money some other way. I don't have to go and do freelance work to get this money. It's like sitting right there. A good example is I have Hot Toys Iron Man Mark IV, and I really want. I'm really thinking heavily about getting the Iron Man Mark VII from the Avengers, and but he's really expensive. He's like $275, I think, or something like that. I don't know. Math may be wrong on that, but I really want to pick that figure up, but I really don't need 2 Iron Mans. So, the Mark IV ghosts are pretty high on eBay. So I'm thinking about, even though I don't really want to get rid of him, I think I'm going to get rid of him and take that money and have that and a little cash left over after getting the Mark VII. So, the way I sort of look at it is, when we collect stuff, we're not all that entirely unlike a museum. We go out, we find pieces of art that we like, we find pieces that we like, we collect them, and then we, display them and we show them off, to our friends, whoever, or maybe just ourselves. But, that's not in like a museum. But, while museums certainly do have permanent collections, museums also have revolving collections. They'll display stuff for a while and they take it down, they send it to another museum and let another group of people enjoy it. So I'm a big proponent of that, man. Instead of taking that figure and not getting rid of it and just keep shoving it back further and further to the back of your cabinet or case or shelf and letting it get dusty and forgotten, man. Get that guy out, clean him up, package him up, sell him on eBay, and let him go live on somebody else's shelf for a while. And, you get the space, you get your space back, you get, income out of it to parlay that into something else. So yeah, man, big proponent, recycle your figures. And the last rule, and I can't really see this really applying to anybody else but myself, but my last rule is that I only buy stuff that has like a direct link to something in my past, something in my childhood. And you'll see this hugely reflected in my collection. I'm a child of the 80s. I definitely, I love my G.I. Joe. I love my Transformers. I love my Star Wars figures. I love Silverhawks and Superpowers and Secret Wars and Thundercats. Like, that's what I grew up on. And so that's, the biggest bulk of my collection is made up of nostalgia, 80s toys. Figures released now that, are re-releases of stuff I had when I was a kid. Except for the Hot Toys. But even those have, some ties. I mean, Captain America in the Avengers, but he was also in the Secret Wars line that Marvel put out. So you'll see that big. So that kind of really keeps my my collection focused and kind of like honed in. Every once in a while I'll pick up a figure like the Walking Dead figures, and my wife's like, "You didn't have those when you were a kid." And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't, but I love monster movies. I love zombies. It's a good show." So I bend that rule. I break that rule from time to time, but for the most part, my collection is pretty focused on nostalgia stuff from the '80s. And again, you'll see that here in just a second. So those are my rules, man. It's just 5 quick little rules that I use to sort of guide my collecting. And I really didn't know that I had them, until started thinking about what Seb was talking about and keeping collecting in check and not letting it get away from you and get out of hand. And that's when I realized, man, I really do. I do have rules. I didn't know I did, but I kind of do. So yeah, man, like I said, Seb, best to you. Hope those rules kind of help some people out there. And like I said, please, share your rules, make a video, or just throw them down in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. So with that being said, let's take a walk over to the to my cabinet, and I'll show you exactly what I got going on. Okay, so here we are at my desk, and like I said, my desk is sort of recessed in to the wall. It's actually like in a little closet alcove area. But up here to my left, I have some of my favorite Hellboy collection, collected novels and stuff like that. Love Hellboy. It's probably my favorite comic book series next to Batman. I have a Mezco, that's a Magnolia version of Hellboy, and I have the Mignola Batman black and white statue. It's one of my favorite pieces. And over here, just have some Marvel Select stuff. Got the new Spider-Man and Lizard figures, which I really love. My favorite Jim Lee, Sabretooth, Colossus, my favorite X-Men of all time, next to Nightcrawler. Got a good Thor, the Copial Thor, and my favorite brown and yellow Wolverine costume. That's my favorite. I love that guy. He's pretty cool. So coming over here, that is my actual Castle Grayskull from when I was a kid. It's the exact one I had. Turn these lights on for you a little bit. And oh yeah, so you got a glimpse of it. Here is my IKEA cabinet that I have here in the room. So yeah, you can see some of the Hot Toys boxes up there at the top. Maybe if I turn that light off, yeah, maybe make it a little easier to see some of the figures in there. But we're going to open up the cabinets and check them out. So right up here on top, got the DX89 Batman and Joker. God, I love these figures. They're like the pinnacle of my collection. Love the movie. Love everything about it. Alright, going over here to the other side, got the Christopher Reeves Superman. Christopher Lee, what am I talking about? Got the Hot Toys DX Luke. That is the sideshow version that came with the Vader head. Is that going to focus? Come on. There we go. Sorry, I'm doing this with my iPhone. It's not the best. Of course, Indiana Jones. That's sort of like my 80s movie shelf. It's kind of like what that is up there. Like I said, huge fan of the 80s. So, I grew up on He-Man. It's probably one of my favorite toy collections when I was a kid. So these are all the Masters of the Universe Classics figures. I just got Jitsu and Ram Man the other day, and that's going to actually be my last 2 that I buy until they release Too Bad. So got all the good guys up top. And let's see, next shelf down, got my Bank Robber Joker, which I've reviewed already. Got my DX Joker here. This is the first DX Joker. I won't be getting the new one. I may pick up the table and chairs and environment off eBay, but I really don't need another Joker figure. This one's perfect. I don't have a problem with it. It looks great. Over here, got the new DX Dark Knight Rises Batman. Can't wait to get Bane and Catwoman in here with them. That's going to be awesome. Like, again, I love my Transformers, man. You know, I review these like crazy. This is my Masterpiece Collection shelf. That's actually not a Masterpiece Ironhide. That's the Fans Project Weapon Specialist. I don't know the exact name of it, but I'm getting a review up for that guy pretty soon. Here we go. We got some Rebel Tech, and that is my Astro Train's my favorite triple changer from when I was a kid, and that's the re-release of Soundwave. So, coming down the shelf a little bit, more Masters of the Universe Classics figures. These are all the bad guys, and I only plan on adding one more to this. Well, Jitsu when he comes in, but then Too Bad whenever they release Too Bad. That'll be the next one I get, if that ever happens. Here's my Iron Man shelf. Got that War Machine. That took me quite a while to track down on eBay a couple years ago. Luckily, I got him when I did because he's crazy expensive. This is my my Mark V, and what I did here, I plan on covering this in the review too, is I bought one of Whiplash's whips off of eBay to sort of wrap around his battle damage arm and chest, and I love displaying that figure that way. Then over here, we got the rest of my Hot Toys. We got John Connor back there. Love that figure. Hawkeye, finally getting him finished up in the background. Black Suit Spider-Man, and Marvel's Avengers Cap, and World War II Cap. I love that cap back there. And then over here is some more Transformers. This is my Transformers Prime collection. You'll see some other stuff in there, like Fall of Cybertron Grimlock right in the front, and Fall of Cybertron Soundwave, like right there. Then we have Optimus and Bumblebee from Michael Bay movies. Those are more Rebel Techs. And then over here, let's see if I can get down a little bit better. Show you. This is sort of like my 80s catch-all shelf. So, got some Star Wars stuff going on in the back, some Star Wars Unleashed. Got the new Ninja Turtles Classics figures in there. And then just sort of a smattering. That's my actual Bespin Luke from when I was a kid. Got some Luke Skywalker figures from through the years. This is by nowhere near all of my Star Wars figures. I just don't have the room to display them. Or my G.I. Joes. It's the only two that have broken my my no display rule. They're actually boxed up. But I don't. They're 3 or 4 small boxes, nothing big. Got some Batman and Robin figures to represent, Joker and Penguin to sort of represent the Superpowers collection. Got some Walking Dead figures. I had Daryl Dixon, but I ended up selling him for $170 on eBay, and I paid for my Captain America with him. So, most of my Captain America was paid for Daryl Dixon. He's a horrible figure, but hey, that's what I'm talking about, recycle figures. And have some smattering of G.I. Joes. Lifeline's one of my all-time favorite G.I. Joes. Airtight's in here somewhere, unless there he is. There's Airtight. These are a couple I got at the end of last year, Law and Order, Sci-Fi. And then Kang from Marvel Universe, sort of representing some of the Superpowers figures that I have. So yeah, man, that's basically my collection. That is what it is. You know, it's not the biggest in the world, but it's mine, and it makes me happy. And that's pretty much it. That's the collection as it stands. So, what else? Yeah, I think that's going to about do it. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me ramble about my rules and such. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.